Star Wars has for many years now left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. Parts of the fandom just don't seem that engaged with Star Wars anymore, but the tide seems to be changing. I think most people will agree that Andor is one of the best pieces of Star Wars media we've gotten in a very long time. It provided us with a grounded story within this universe, really emphasizing those themes of hope and rebellion that with incredible writing, acting, and cinematography has left almost everyone longing for a season 2. Now I say almost everyone because there are people who didn't like Andor. They felt it was boring or that it wasn't the Star Wars that they know and love, and that's fair. This show absolutely isn't for everyone. It doesn't necessarily tick that magical and fantastical itch that Star Wars can give, which is where Ahsoka comes in, because Ahsoka is also phenomenal, but it provides something different. Ahsoka is to the Jedi and lightsaber lovers what Andor is to the communists. It embraces the wackiness and adventure of Star Wars, and it does so with a compelling narrative and great fight scenes. However, before I get deeper into why I like Ahsoka, I need to first address one of the main topics of discussion when it comes to Ahsoka. Do you need to have watched Clone Wars or Rebels to enjoy the show? And it depends. Being familiar with the overarching story of Rebels and the characters does go a long way towards you being able to just pick up this show and enjoy it. Because if you don't know who Ahsoka, Hera, Sabine, or Ezra are, then you might not be invested in their stories right away. The show does a good job of setting up the characters and who they are, even for people who don't know them, but still, while you quickly learn that Sabine cares about Ezra and is motivated to find him, you're probably not that invested in it because you don't know them or their history, and in that sense it can be difficult for casual watchers to get invested in the story. Similar to Thrawn, why does he matter? The show tells you that he's a threat, that he was one of the most influential characters within the Empire, but that still doesn't explain why he's a threat. I mean, usually a high-ranking admiral still being alive won't be a massive threat to a whole newly established republic. There must be something special about him, which there is, and people who've watched Rebels would know. And so this show is definitely easier to pick up if you've watched the animated shows, and you'll naturally be more invested in the characters and the story. However, I don't think it's necessary to do so. I think a casual fan of Star Wars can very easily start watching and have a good time. Like I said, the show catches you up on who these characters are and what their motivations are through their interactions with each other. The plot is engaging and easy to follow, and the arcs that the characters are going through are established in this show. The previous shows naturally add context to these arcs, but I think they're set up well here and are easy to get invested in. I personally know many people who have little knowledge of Rebels who still like this show. It's perhaps just a good idea to watch a quick recap on YouTube because I think it would help. And if you're not a Star Wars fan and haven't watched any of the movies either, then I don't think this is the best place to start. Watch A New Hope. But yes, I think Ahsoka has something for everyone. It naturally has moments that will hit harder for fans of Rebels, like the characters reuniting and interacting, but there are also moments that will hit hard for fans of the prequels and the Clone Wars, such as Anakin showing up in Ahsoka's vision, where he gives her his final lesson. This scene is vital to Ahsoka's character because it allows her to stop blaming herself for what happened to Anakin and that she needs to move on. The scenes of them fighting against each other, the throwbacks to the Clone Wars and seeing Captain Rex in live action was awesome to see. The show is also well shot, which comes to light in this episode, but I also don't think it's anything that special. People are saying this is one of the best shots of the franchise, and while I agree it goes hard as fuck, I'm not quite sure I agree with the overall statement. I also really appreciate Dave Filoni for finally portraying Ahsoka as a child, which she was during the Clone Wars. She was a child soldier, and I think that really came to light in this episode compared to the animated show. However, if you're not a fan of the Clone Wars or Rebels and you just like Star Wars in general, then this show still has a lot to offer you. Other than Thrawn, the antagonists in the show are new and unique, and Thrawn himself is very well done. His introduction is fantastic. We learn a lot about who he is and how strategic and intelligent he is. And maybe my Danish bias will show here, but Lars Mikkelsen is a freaking goat. And anyone who says that he doesn't fit live-action Thrawn should fucking be proud of their opinions, because after all, people, they are just opinions. I may like Lars Mikkelsen as Thrawn, while others may not, so let's just be friends. No, but seriously, if anyone says anything mean to Lars Mikkelsen, then I will invade you in clash. Anyways, the show provides mostly everything you can want from a Star Wars show. Cool fights, epic space battles, interesting lore and dialogue, wacky concepts being explored, and sass. A whole lot of sass. an ass. The good aspects of Ahsoka really are good, and it's been so refreshing watching the show every week because I just love when Star Wars is hitting. When the people making it seem excited to be making it, you feel that shit. And listen, I will always be down for some more Star Wars, whether it's good or bad or mediocre, I'll be there, no matter what. It just helps a lot when I enjoy it. However, not everyone loves Ahsoka, and that's fine, depending on the reasons, of course. There are some people who disregard this show because it's woke, because the majority of the cast are women, and they are sometimes sassy to the men or whatever. People who genuinely shit on Ahsoka on the sole basis of it being woke or having a feminist agenda or whatever don't deserve to be in the conversation. However, they always end up being part of the conversation, which sucks. But at least we can laugh at how alone and insecure these people are, and then we can get sad at how alone and insecure they are, and we can hope that they will eventually find some love and happiness in life, and maybe even start being able to watch a TV show without having to complain about wokeness, which most of the time is meaningless. But anyways, I might talk more about this in a future video, but not today. Let's instead move on to some real negatives, criticism for grown-ups as you may call it. And let's start off this adult-oriented criticism with a petty nitpick, because I have an issue with the lightsaber fights. Don't get me wrong, they're mostly great, and the choreography is pretty damn entertaining, and while I do love how rustic and amateur the fights in the sequels are, it fully fits the characters, I do also just enjoy seeing Jedi at the heights of their powers going at it. However, I just find it annoying when two characters are about to fight, we've established the scene, they've talked, and then it cuts away as soon as they start. Now, I don't need Obi-Wan and Anakin on Mustafar every single time, the fight doesn't need to be super long, and I'm fine with cuts in between the fights. I just wish some of these shots were a little longer because the choreography is really good, and I want them to show it off more. This is mainly a nitpick from my side, and I may be alone in thinking this way, but it just annoys me a little when it happens. However, naturally, this story being a continuation of the Rebels story can lead to some limitations for some watchers, especially since the emotional core of the show is heavily influenced by how much you already care about the characters. And I know I've already talked about this, so I won't go into further detail, I just thought I'd mention it again because it probably is the biggest potential flaw I can see with this show. Some people of course will dislike the writing or the characterization or the somewhat muted colors at times, and all of that is valid. That's just not something that has bothered me, because I really don't have many complaints about Ahsoka. I think this is some good-ass Star Wars. It might not be for everyone because nothing is, but I think most Star Wars fans would be able to find something to like here. With the finale still to come out, I'm excited to see how they finish this season off, but I'm heavily expecting some kind of cliffhanger. And while I'm not particularly fond of Lucasfilm still making content during this time period because I want some new and unique stuff, I do believe their most recent works have been tremendous. Andor and Ahsoka feel like Disney has some direction again, which is fucking brilliant, and believe it or not, Ahsoka has actually got me somewhat intrigued by this upcoming Dave Filoni movie now that Thrawn is being established as a major threat once again. But all in all, Ahsoka has been hitting all the right places. I love the attention to detail, I love the callbacks and Easter eggs. They may be camp, but they're fun, and I really like the characterization. Ezra not using the lightsaber and rather using the Force for defense is what being a Jedi is all about. Even if he ends up using a lightsaber again, which I can imagine him doing, this still showed the growth of his character in a meaningful way. However, I'm getting off track here. I just like a lot of what this show is doing, but what do you think? Do you like Ahsoka or is it not for you? Let me know down in the comments, and while you're at it, why not leave a like and subscribe for more content? And if you really want to support me further, then check out my channel memberships, but other than that, I hope you all have a wonderful day, stay safe, and peace out.